Contortion is basically bending your body in unusual ways, pushing it beyond the realms of what most people would consider normal.
Meet Skye Broberg, your friendly local contortionist.
I'm a front bender, so I'm good at doing things like putting my legs behind my neck and pulling my legs back behind my body, so I can bend forwards in extreme ways.
In some cultures, contortion is revered as a beautiful and graceful art form. Others, however, see it as a bit, well, freaky.
I guess there is that element of like, ooh, because some things that people do, you think they should be breaking, but they don't.
Most people have some ability, obviously, to front bend and back bend, but a contortionist has what we call hypermobility or increased mobility, and some people have trained that over a long period of time, and so that their joints and their ligaments and tendons and muscles have allowed that movement. There are some people who have genetic predispositions to this, and which means that there's changes in their physiology, like their collagen, which make this more possible. But for most contortionists, it's a training over a long period of time, so there's actually physiological and anatomical change.
There's also sort of a condition called like Ehlers-Danlos, which is a sort of a hypermobile condition, I guess, which affects things like ligaments and joints. So it can be good in the sense that it makes you more flexible, but can be bad that it can affect things like heart valves, and so they could invert or malfunction in some ways. So I was tested for that when I was younger, but they said I didn't have an extreme case of it, or it wasn't going to affect my heart anyway. So that's always helped. So yes, I've always been quite flexible since I was very young, and my mother was flexible and her father was flexible, so it's a hereditary trait.
To reach the level of flexibility required for contorting, years of training and careful practice is usually needed, unless you are Skye.
It was just something I've always been able to do. As a kid, I used to watch TV with my legs behind my neck, so it wasn't that I had to train to do it. It was more having a look at what I could do and then finding transitions between the moves to make it interesting. Because some people, will go to contortion school, and a friend of mine, Mim, she's done that process, and they do get to a stage where they can dislocate joints, and you can take it that far. You may choose not to, and some people naturally can just pop out their shoulders. A lot of boys can. I'm not a dislocator though, and whilst I guess I'm just hesitant to start at this point in time in life.
This part of the spine has the greatest range of motion in what we call flexion and extension. Most people are only going to get to about so, 20 to 50 degrees. Skye's going to get way back here. Skye's hip flexors and abdominal muscles are really important in this situation to make sure that she's stable and that she's not actually putting undue stress on those joints there and creating sprain and strain or any dislocation.
I've got 3 records that involve my tennis racket and 2 that involve boxes. So one my own box, and that's going into that as fast as possible, and one where I crammed into a slightly larger box with 2 other girls and stayed in there for as long as we could.
Next month, Skye travels to Turkey, where she'll attempt to break her current record of the longest time spent in a box with 2 others.
Last time we actually had a bit of a chit chat about what was going on and what we could sense going on around us. So we kept ourselves quite amused in there. And one of the girls was actually quite comfy. She was sort of going into a little bit of a snooze down there.
Skye has not only caught the eye of the Guinness World Record Scouts, but it seems her particular skill set attracts some attention from the opposite sex.
I had a few very interesting propositions, but that's funny, isn't it, really? You're just going to have a laugh about it. And I mean, hey, it does have its advantages, I guess, so,
A high-level contortionist usually starts training their body from an age as young as 5. Skye, however, plays by her own rules.
I started doing that, would have been 33 when I started doing that. And so I started quite late compared to your average contortionists. Most of the girls or boys I meet are a lot younger than myself. I'm 40 now.
In her 20s, Skye was bored with her day-to-day routine. An unfortunate event inspired her to make some changes.
Well, it was probably the passing of my father, who was an artist and never regretted being an artist, even though his parents, his father was a pharmacist and his father was a pharmacist, and that was what was expected of him, and he went against that and went to art school. And he always said to me he never regretted that. I asked him at one point, did he? And he said, no, I've always enjoyed what I do and I love what I do, and it's challenging at times, but it's worth it. And when he passed, I was working in office at the time at the university, and then I just thought, why don't I go for this change of life and I'll do the Circle Arts program. And I thought, worst case scenario, if it didn't work out, I can always go back to my 9-to-5 job. But as it turns out, I finished that and I got a job with a circus and just kept on going from there. I started doing this quite late in life compared to a lot of people where they start, and I've never regretted that for a day. And I just think for anyone out there who maybe is unhappy with life or frustrated with what they're doing, I think it's worthwhile sometimes taking that risk and making some changes in your life.